My sister-in-law faked her son's spinal injury and blamed my family, but when I sent her timestamp security footage showing he was perfectly fine, she called it edited, sued me for emotional distress, then got a restraining order after she stood outside my daughter's school taking pictures and sending threatening notes. For context, our son James just turned 17 last month and our daughter Nina is 14. We live in what people around here call the Graceville area. It's not fancy, but it's comfortable. We've had the same house for about 12 years. My 44F husband, Walter's sister, is named Ashley. She's 48 years old. Ashley has always been the type of person who needs to be the center of attention in every room she walks into. When we first met at a family barbecue back in 2004, she spent 2 hours telling everyone about her emergency gallbladder surgery from 3 years prior. She brought medical papers to show people. At a barbecue. Ashley has 2 kids. Her daughter Qley is 19 now and moved out 2 years ago. Her son Danny just turned 16 in March. When James and Nina were younger, they spent a lot of time with their cousins. Every other weekend, we'd all get together. The kids would play in our backyard or we'd take them to the community pool. Danny and James especially got along well. They were only a year apart and both liked the same video games. Ashley got divorced from her husband Carl about 7 years ago. After that, she started calling Walter almost daily. She needed help moving furniture. She needed someone to look at her water heater. She needed advice about her car making a weird noise. Walter would drop everything to help her. I never said much about it because that's his sister. But there were times when he'd leave in the middle of Nina's soccer games or miss James's school events because Ashley called with some emergency. The thing about Ashley's emergencies was that they always seemed to happen when she wasn't getting enough attention from the family. When Qley got engaged last year, Ashley suddenly had a health scare that required her to go to urgent care 3 times in 1 week. The doctors never found anything wrong. When Walter's mother had her 70th birthday party and everyone was focused on her, Ashley developed a migraine so severe that she had to lie down in the guest room. But I saw her checking her phone and texting the whole time. I'm explaining all this because it matters for understanding what happened next. About 5 months ago, Danny came over to our house on a Saturday afternoon. This was in early August. He wanted to play basketball with James in our driveway. The boys played for maybe an hour. I brought them lemonade around 3 p.m. They seemed fine. They were laughing and talking about some show they both watched. Danny left around 4:30 p.m. He rode his bike home like he always did. He waved goodbye to me from the end of our driveway. That night around 9 p.m., my phone rang. It was Ashley. Before I could even say hello, she started screaming. She said Danny was in the emergency room. She said he couldn't walk. She said the doctors told her he had severe spinal trauma. She said this happened at our house. She said James pushed Danny off our deck and Danny landed on his back. I told her we don't have a deck. We have a patio. It's ground level. She ignored this and kept talking. She said Danny told the doctors that James pushed him during an argument. She said Danny might never walk normally again. She said she was going to need help paying for his medical treatment. She said the ambulance bill alone was $2,000. I went to find James. He was in his room doing homework. I asked him what happened with Danny earlier. He looked confused. He said they just played basketball. I asked if they argued about anything. He said no. I asked if Danny fell or hurt himself. James said Danny missed a shot and joked about it, but that was all. He asked me why I was asking these questions. I told him his aunt said Danny was in the hospital. James grabbed his phone and tried to text Danny but got no response. Walter called Ashley back. She repeated the same story to him. She added more details this time. She said the doctors found bruising on Danny's lower back. She said Danny was crying from the pain. She said she might need to take time off work to care for him. She said we needed to cover her lost wages. Walter asked to speak to Danny. Ashley said Danny was too traumatized to talk. She said Danny was getting x-rays done. She said she would call us back with more information. We didn't sleep much that night. Walter kept saying his sister wouldn't lie about something like this. I didn't say what I was thinking. The next morning, Ashley sent a text message. She said Danny had fractured vertebrae. She said he would need physical therapy for months. She said our homeowner's insurance needed to pay for everything. She said if we didn't help her, she would have to take legal action. I called our insurance company on Monday morning. They said they needed documentation of the incident. They needed medical records. They needed a formal claim filed. I told them I wasn't sure the incident actually happened the way it was being described. The insurance agent said they would investigate. That's when I remembered we had security cameras. Walter installed them about 3 years ago after there were some break-ins in our neighborhood. We have cameras covering the front door, the driveway, and the backyard. The footage saves automatically to a cloud service. I spent Monday afternoon going through the footage from that Saturday. I found the parts where Danny was at our house. I watched the whole thing. Danny and James played basketball. They took a break and sat on the patio drinking lemonade. They went back to playing. At one point, James missed a shot and the ball rolled into the bushes. Both boys ran after it. They were laughing. Danny was moving completely normally. He bent down to pick up the ball. He jogged back to the driveway. He made a shot and raised both arms in celebration. Later, when he was leaving, he got on his bike and pedaled away. No limping. No sign of pain. No pushing. No falling. No argument. I saved the video clips. I sent them to Walter first. He watched them 3 times. He called Ashley and told her we had video footage showing Danny was fine when he left our house. Ashley went quiet for a moment. Then she said the injury must have happened after Danny got home. She said maybe he fell off his bike on the way back. Walter asked why she told us it happened at our house. She said that's what Danny told her. Walter asked to speak to Danny again. Ashley said Danny was resting and couldn't be disturbed. I sent the footage to Ashley's email address. I included timestamps. I wrote that I hope this cleared up any confusion about what happened. I said I was glad Danny was okay and that if he needed anything, we were here to help. I thought that would be the end of it. 2 days later, we received a letter from a lawyer. Ashley was suing us for $50,000. The letter said we were liable for Danny's injuries. It said we were trying to cover up what happened by fabricating evidence. It said the video footage had been edited or manipulated. It said Ashley had medical bills and ongoing care costs that we needed to pay. It said if we didn't settle out of court, she would pursue the maximum amount allowed. Walter called his sister. This time she didn't answer. He left voicemails. He sent text messages. Nothing. He drove to her house. She didn't answer the door even though her car was in the driveway. He could see her watching him through the window. We hired a lawyer. His name was Mr. Thompson and he had handled a case for Walter's coworker a few years back. Mr. Thompson looked at the security footage. He looked at the lawsuit. He said the case had no merit. He said we should file a motion to dismiss. He said if Ashley wanted to pursue this, she would have to provide actual evidence that Danny was injured at our house. He said the security footage was clear and timestamped and would hold up in any court. The preliminary hearing was scheduled for 6 weeks later. During those 6 weeks, Ashley told everyone in the family that we were refusing to help Danny. She posted on Facebook about how her son was suffering and his own family had turned their backs on him. She didn't mention the lawsuit. She didn't mention the security footage. She just posted photos of Danny with a back brace on and asked people to pray for him. Walter's mother called me. She said I needed to drop the lawyer and just pay Ashley whatever she needed. She said family doesn't sue family. I asked if she had seen the security footage. She said she didn't need to see it. She said Ashley wouldn't lie about her own child being hurt. I sent her the videos anyway. She watched them and then said the cameras might have missed something. She said just because we didn't see Danny get hurt didn't mean it didn't happen. Other relatives started taking sides. Walter's uncle said we were being cruel. His cousin said we should be ashamed. A few people asked to see the footage and after watching it, they stopped calling Ashley. But most of the family didn't want to see it. They just wanted us to make peace with Ashley. Qley called me one evening. This was about 2 weeks before the hearing. She said she needed to talk to me but couldn't let her mother know. We met at a coffee shop across town. Qley looked exhausted. She said she moved out of Ashley's house as soon as she turned 18 because she couldn't take it anymore. She said her mother had been making up medical problems for years. Qley told me that when she was 12, Ashley took her to 6 different doctors claiming Qley had chronic stomach pain. The doctors found nothing wrong. Ashley got angry with them and found new doctors. Finally, one doctor suggested it might be stress-related and Ashley stopped taking Qley to appointments. Qley said she never actually had stomach pain. Her mother just kept asking her if her stomach hurt until Qley said yes to make her stop asking. She said when Danny was 8, Ashley claimed he had a severe peanut allergy. She told the school. She told all the relatives. She made Danny carry an EpiPen everywhere. Qley said she once saw Danny eat peanut butter crackers at a friend's house and he was completely fine. When she told Ashley, her mother got angry and said Qley was trying to get her brother killed. Qley said about a month ago, Danny came home from our house and mentioned he had a slightly sore back from playing basketball. Ashley immediately started asking him detailed questions. Did it hurt when he bent over? Did it hurt when he walked? Did it hurt when he sat down? Danny said it was just a little sore. Ashley kept pushing. She took him to urgent care that night. The doctor said it was normal muscle soreness from exercise. Ashley wasn't satisfied. She took Danny to the emergency room the next day and told them he had fallen and couldn't walk. Qley was there. She said she watched her mother coach Danny on what to say to the doctors. Qley started crying at the coffee shop. She said she tried to tell her dad about this stuff but Carl didn't believe her. She said she tried to tell other family members but they said she was just being a dramatic teenager. She said she was telling me now because she couldn't watch her mother destroy another relationship with lies. She said Ashley does this whenever she feels like people aren't paying enough attention to her. She makes herself into a victim or makes her kids into victims so everyone has to focus on her. I asked Qley if she would be willing to tell this to our lawyer. She said yes but she was scared of what her mother would do. I told her she didn't have to do anything she wasn't comfortable with. She said she would think about it. The hearing happened on a Thursday morning in late September. Ashley showed up with her lawyer. We showed up with Mr. Thompson. The judge asked Ashley's lawyer to present evidence that Danny was injured at our property. The lawyer submitted medical records from the emergency room visit. The records showed Danny came in complaining of back pain. They showed he was examined. They showed he was given a back brace and told to follow up with his regular doctor. The records did not show any fractures. They did not show any trauma. They showed muscle strain. Mr. Thompson presented the security footage. He showed the judge the timestamps. He showed Danny playing basketball with full range of motion. He showed Danny bending down, jumping, running, and riding his bike away from our house with no issues. The footage was from the same day as the emergency room visit. Danny left our house at 4:30 p.m. according to the timestamp. The medical records showed Ashley brought him to the emergency room at 8:45 p.m. The judge watched the footage. She asked Ashley's lawyer if he had any evidence that contradicted what was shown in the video. The lawyer said his client maintained that the video had been altered. The judge asked if he had any proof of alteration. He said no, but that digital files could be manipulated. The judge asked if he had hired an expert to examine the footage. He said no. She asked if he planned to. He said he would need time to do so. The judge dismissed the case. She said there was no evidence supporting the claim that Danny was injured at our property. She said the security footage clearly showed otherwise. She said if Ashley wanted to refile, she would need to provide actual evidence. She also said that frivolous lawsuits waste the court's time and that Ashley should consider that before proceeding further. Ashley stood up and started yelling. She said the judge was biased. She said we had obviously paid someone to fake the videos. She said her son was suffering and no one cared. The judge told her to sit down. Ashley's lawyer pulled her back into her seat. The judge ended the hearing. Outside the courthouse, Ashley saw us in the parking lot. She walked up to Walter and started screaming at him. She said he was a terrible brother. She said he chose his wife over his own nephew. She said the whole family would know what kind of person he really was. Walter didn't say anything. He just walked to our car. Ashley followed us. She was still yelling. She hit the hood of our car with her hand. Mr. Thompson told us to get in the car and leave. He said he would handle it. We drove away. That night, Ashley made a Facebook post. She said her family had abandoned her in her time of need. She said her brother had turned his back on his injured nephew. She said she was heartbroken but would keep fighting for Danny. She tagged Walter, me, and about 15 other family members. The post got a lot of comments from people we didn't know. Most of them were supportive of Ashley. A few people asked what actually happened. Ashley deleted those comments. Update 1: 3 weeks have passed since the hearing. I thought once the lawsuit was dismissed, things would calm down. That didn't happen. The day after the hearing, Ashley posted another long message on Facebook. She wrote that the justice system had failed her son. She wrote that money and connections could make evidence disappear. She wrote that Danny was still in pain and still needed treatment, but the people responsible were walking free. She didn't name us directly, but she tagged Walter again. People who knew our family understood who she was talking about. Walter's mother called him and said he needed to apologize to Ashley. Walter asked what he should apologize for. She said for taking her to court. He reminded her that Ashley was the one who sued us. She said he could have just paid her and avoided all of this. He asked how much money she thought we should have paid for an injury that never happened. She hung up on him. James started having problems at school. Some of Danny's friends were in his grade. They started making comments to James in the hallways. They said his parents were letting Danny suffer. They said James hurt Danny and got away with it. One kid pushed James into a locker. James didn't fight back. He came home and went straight to his room. He didn't tell us what happened. Nina told us because she heard about it from her friends. Walter went to the school and talked to the principal. He brought a copy of the security footage. The principal watched it. He said he would talk to the students involved. He said he couldn't control what kids said to each other, but he would address the physical incident. Nothing really changed after that. Qley called me again. She said Ashley had been driving past her apartment. Qley lived about 20 minutes from Ashley's house. She said she noticed her mother's car parked across the street multiple times in the past week. She said once she went outside to check and the car drove away quickly. She asked if Ashley had contacted us. I told her no. Qley said that was strange because usually when Ashley was in one of her moods, she contacted everyone constantly. 2 days after that conversation, something happened at Danny's school. I found out about it from Walter's cousin Linda. Linda's daughter went to the same school as Danny. Linda called Walter and said we needed to know what Ashley did. Apparently, Ashley showed up at the school during lunch period. She went into the cafeteria. She found Danny sitting with his friends. She walked up to him and started crying loudly. Everyone in the cafeteria stopped and watched. Ashley grabbed Danny and hugged him. She kept saying that she loved him and that she was fighting for him. She said people had turned him against her, but she would never give up. Danny looked confused. He tried to pull away from her. She held on tighter. A teacher came over and asked Ashley to leave. Ashley said she had every right to see her own son. The teacher said she needed to go through the front office like every other parent. Ashley refused to let go of Danny. The school resource officer came to the cafeteria. He asked Ashley to leave the building. She started yelling that they couldn't keep a mother from her child. The officer said she could see Danny after school through proper channels but she couldn't disrupt lunch. Ashley finally let go of Danny. She left the cafeteria but stood in the hallway. She was crying and saying that this was what her family had done to her. The officer escorted her out of the building. The school called Carl. He came and picked up Danny. He took Danny home with him. Carl had remarried 2 years ago and lived about 30 minutes away. According to Linda, Danny had been staying with his dad for the past week. Carl filed for emergency custody modification. He cited Ashley's behavior at the school and her obsession with the lawsuit as reasons Danny shouldn't be living with her full time. Ashley left voicemails on Walter's phone. She said Carl stole Danny from her. She said this was all our fault because we turned everyone against her. She said if we had just helped her when she needed it, none of this would have happened. She said Walter would regret choosing his wife over his sister. Walter didn't call her back. Then Nina came to me and showed me her phone. Someone had created a fake Instagram account. The account was pretending to be a student at Nina's school. The account had posted several photos of our house. The caption said things like "This is where the family who won't help injured kids' lives and these people have money for lawyers but not for medical bills." The photos were taken from the street. You could see our address numbers on the mailbox in one of them. Nina was scared. She asked if we needed to move. I told her no. I took screenshots of the account and all the posts. I tried to report the account to Instagram but the process was slow. I called Mr. Thompson and sent him the screenshots. He said this could be considered harassment. He said if we could prove who was behind the account, we could pursue legal action. Nina had a friend who was good with computers. The friend said he could try to trace where the account was being managed from. I wasn't sure about involving a teenager in this but Nina said her friend had helped other kids figure out who was making fake accounts before. The friend looked at the account and said it was being accessed from an IP address in our county. He narrowed it down to a general area. The area included Ashley's neighborhood. I checked the account again the next day. There were new posts. One showed a photo of Nina walking to the school bus stop. The caption said even the kids in this family are learning to ignore people who need help. I took Nina out of school and kept her home. I called the police non-emergency line. I explained the situation. The officer I spoke to said they could file a report but unless there were direct threats, there wasn't much they could do about social media posts. I asked about the photo of Nina. The officer said that was concerning but since it was taken in a public place, it wasn't technically illegal. He suggested we document everything and consider getting a restraining order if the harassment continued. Walter contacted Carl. He explained what was happening. Carl said Danny had mentioned his mother spending a lot of time on her phone lately. Carl said he would talk to Danny and see if Danny knew anything. Carl called back an hour later. He said Danny admitted that Ashley had him take the photo of Nina at the bus stop. She told him it was for a family photo project. Danny didn't know his mother posted it online with that caption. Carl said Danny was upset when he found out. Mr. Thompson filed for a temporary restraining order against Ashley. We included the screenshots from the Instagram account, the incident report from the school, and Qley's statement about Ashley's past behavior. Qley had decided to come forward officially. She wrote a detailed account of growing up with Ashley and the pattern of fabricated illnesses and attention-seeking behavior. The hearing for the restraining order was scheduled for 2 weeks out. In the meantime, the Instagram account posted more photos. Someone posted a photo of our car in the grocery store parking lot. Someone posted a photo of Walter leaving his office. The captions were always about how we were living our normal lives while Danny suffered. James stopped going to his after-school activities. He said he didn't want to deal with people asking him questions. Nina stayed home from school for 3 days. I tried to make it seem normal but she could tell I was checking the windows constantly. Every time a car drove slowly past our house, I would watch to see if it was Ashley. Walter's mother called me directly. She usually only talked to Walter. She said I had ruined her family. She said before I came along, everyone got along fine. She said I put ideas in Walter's head about his sister. She said the restraining order was going too far. I asked her if she knew about the Instagram account. She said she didn't use Instagram. I asked if she knew Ashley had shown up at Danny's school and caused a scene. She said a mother has a right to see her child. I asked if she thought it was normal for Ashley to take photos of Nina without permission and post them online. She said I was exaggerating everything. I told her to ask Carl what Danny had told him. She said Carl was turning Danny against Ashley too. I ended the call. The restraining order hearing happened on a Tuesday. Ashley showed up without a lawyer this time. The judge reviewed the evidence. He looked at the Instagram posts. He asked Ashley if she created the account. She said no. He asked if she took any of the photos. She said she might have taken some photos but she didn't post them anywhere. He asked why she would take photos of our house and car. She said she was documenting her visits to her brother's house. He pointed out that the photos were taken from the street, not from inside our house. She didn't have a good answer for that. The judge asked about the school incident. Ashley said she was checking on her son and the school overreacted. The judge read the report from the school resource officer. He asked why she didn't go through the front office. She said she didn't think she needed to. He asked if she understood that showing up unannounced at a school and refusing to leave when asked was not appropriate. She said she was Danny's mother and she had rights. The judge granted a temporary restraining order for 6 months. He said Ashley was not to contact us directly or indirectly. She was not to come within 500 feet of our home, our workplaces, or our children's schools. She was not to post about us on social media. If she violated any of these terms, she could be arrested. Ashley stood up and said this was unfair. She said she was being punished for loving her son. The judge said the order was about her behavior, not her feelings. He said if she wanted to contest it, she could request a hearing. She said the whole system was against her. The judge ended the session. We left the courthouse through a side door. Mr. Thompson had suggested this to avoid any confrontation. We got to our car and drove home. I kept checking the rearview mirror to make sure no one was following us. The Instagram account was deleted that same day. I don't know if Ashley deleted it or if Instagram finally took it down. Either way, it was gone. Update 2: It's been 6 weeks since the restraining order was put in place. For the first 2 weeks, things were quiet. Ashley didn't contact us. There were no new social media posts about us. No one showed up at the kids' schools. I started to think maybe this was actually over. I was wrong. About 4 weeks ago, Walter came home from work and found an envelope taped to our front door. It was a plain manila envelope with no writing on it. He brought it inside and opened it. Inside was a printed letter. The letter said that blood was thicker than water. It said that family always finds a way back to each other. It said that temporary orders don't change permanent bonds. It said we would understand eventually. It wasn't signed, but the handwriting on the envelope matched Ashley's handwriting from old birthday cards we had. Walter called the police. An officer came to our house and took the envelope and letter as evidence. He said this could be a violation of the restraining order. He said they would follow up. We didn't hear anything back from them. 3 days later, Nina found a note tucked into her backpack. She didn't notice it until she got home from school. The note was on small pink paper folded into a square. It said that lies always come out eventually and that truth protects the innocent. Nina said she had no idea when someone put it in her backpack. She said her backpack was in her locker most of the day, but she took it to lunch. Anyone could have slipped the note in while she was getting food. I called the school. I explained about the restraining order and asked them to check their security cameras. The principal said they would look into it. They called back 2 days later and said the cameras in the cafeteria weren't clear enough to see individual backpacks. They said they would remind teachers to watch for unauthorized visitors. James received a text message from an unknown number. The message said his aunt still loved him even if his parents were keeping them apart. The message said Danny asked about him and missed playing basketball. James showed me the text. We tried to call the number back, but it went straight to voicemail with no greeting. I saved screenshots and sent them to Mr. Thompson. Carl called Walter and said he needed to tell us something. He said Ashley had been showing up at Danny's school at dismissal time. She would stand across the street and watch Danny get on the bus. She didn't approach him or try to talk to him. She just watched. Danny told Carl about it after the 3rd time it happened. Carl went to the school and confirmed with teachers that they had seen a woman matching Ashley's description standing across the street during dismissal. Carl called the police. They said since she was on a public sidewalk and not approaching Danny, there wasn't much they could do unless she violated the custody agreement. Qley called me sounding panicked. She said her mother had found out where she worked. Qley worked at a bookstore downtown. She said Ashley came into the store and started browsing. Qley was at the register. Ashley walked past her several times but didn't say anything. Qley asked her manager if she could take a break. When she came back from her break, Ashley was gone. But she came back the next day. And the day after that. She would stay for 20 or 30 minutes, browse the shelves, and leave without buying anything. Qley told her manager about the situation. The manager said unless Ashley caused a disturbance, they couldn't ban her from the store. Walter and I were on edge constantly. Every time the phone rang, we checked to see who it was before answering. Every time there was a knock at the door, we looked through the peephole first. I started parking my car in the garage instead of the driveway. Walter changed his route to work so he didn't pass through Ashley's neighborhood. Then something happened that made all of this seem much worse. It was a Wednesday afternoon. I was home alone. The kids were at school and Walter was at work. The doorbell rang. I looked at the Ring camera on my phone. It was Ashley. She was standing on our porch wearing a cream-colored coat. Her hair was neat. She was holding a large envelope. She looked directly at the camera and smiled. Then she set the envelope down on the porch mat, turned around, and walked away. I watched her get into her car and drive away. I waited 10 minutes before I opened the door. I didn't touch the envelope. I took photos of it with my phone. Then I called the police. An officer arrived about 20 minutes later. He put on gloves and picked up the envelope. He asked if I wanted to open it or if I wanted them to open it at the station. I said I wanted to know what was inside. He opened it carefully. Inside was a stack of printed photos. They were photos of our family. Some were old photos from Facebook that Ashley must have saved. Some were recent photos that appeared to be taken from across the street or from a car. There were photos of James at his school. Photos of Nina getting on the bus. Photos of Walter's car in parking lots. Photos of me going into the grocery store. Under the photos was a handwritten note. It said that she was always watching. It said that restraining orders were just pieces of paper. It said that family bonds could never be broken by the courts. It said she would wait as long as it took for us to see the truth. The officer took everything as evidence. He said this was a clear violation of the restraining order. He said they would file charges. He asked if we felt safe in our home. I said I didn't know. He said we might want to consider staying somewhere else for a few days while they located Ashley. I called Walter and told him what happened. We picked up the kids from school early and went to a hotel. We stayed there for 2 nights. The police called and said they went to Ashley's house but she wasn't there. Her car was gone. They checked with Carl. Danny said he hadn't seen his mother in over a week. She hadn't been at his school either. They put out a notice to locate her. On the second night at the hotel, Walter got a call from a number he didn't recognize. He answered it. It was a police officer from the next county over. They had found Ashley sleeping in her car in a church parking lot. She had been there for at least a week based on what the church administrator said. The car was full of bags and boxes. It looked like she had been living in it. The officer said when they approached Ashley and asked for identification, she started crying. She told them she lost her job 3 months ago. She lost her apartment 2 months ago. She had been staying in her car and using the church bathroom to wash up. She said she didn't tell anyone because she was embarrassed. The officer said they were taking her into custody for violating the restraining order. He said they found more photos of our family in her car along with a notebook where she had written down our daily schedules. Ashley was arrested and held overnight. The next morning, she appeared before a judge. The prosecutor presented all the evidence of her violating the restraining order. The judge asked Ashley if she understood what a restraining order meant. She said yes, but she didn't think it applied to just leaving photos. The judge said she had come to our house, which was explicitly forbidden. She had followed and photographed us, which was harassment. She had sent messages through third parties to our children. Ashley said she was just trying to remind her family that she still existed. The judge ordered a psychiatric evaluation. He said based on the evidence, Ashley was not making rational decisions. He said she would be held for evaluation for up to 72 hours. After that, they would determine next steps. He extended the restraining order to 1 year and said if Ashley violated it again, she would face criminal charges beyond contempt of court. We went home from the hotel. Walter installed additional cameras around the house. We changed our phone numbers and only gave the new numbers to people we trusted. James and Nina were relieved but also confused. Nina asked why her aunt would do all of this. I didn't have a good answer. Qley came over the following weekend. She said she had been in touch with her dad. Carl was pursuing full custody of Danny. He was using Ashley's arrest and living situation as evidence that she was not stable enough to have custody. Qley said Danny was doing okay but he was embarrassed that his mother had been living in her car and no one knew. She said he felt like he should have known something was wrong. Walter's mother called him one more time. She said we had gone too far by having Ashley arrested. Walter told her that Ashley violated a court order multiple times. He told her about the photos and the notes in the car. She said Ashley was clearly going through a hard time and we should have helped her instead of calling the police. Walter asked her why she didn't help Ashley if she knew she lost her job and apartment. She said she didn't know. Walter asked why Ashley didn't tell her own mother that she was living in her car. She didn't have an answer. Walter told her he was done talking about this and asked her not to call again about Ashley. The psychiatric evaluation came back after 5 days. The report said Ashley showed signs of a delusional disorder. She believed that her family had conspired against her and that she needed to prove her love by constant surveillance. The evaluator recommended long-term treatment. The court ordered Ashley to undergo mandatory counseling and medication management. She was released from the psychiatric hold but was required to check in weekly with a court-appointed case manager. Carl got temporary full custody of Danny. Ashley was granted supervised visitation once a month. She had to complete at least 6 months of treatment before the custody arrangement would be reviewed. We haven't had any contact from Ashley since her arrest. The restraining order is still in place. We still check the cameras regularly. James went back to his after-school activities. Nina went back to taking the bus. Things feel somewhat normal but there's always this background awareness that Ashley is still out there. Update 3. It's been 8 weeks since my last update. Some things have been resolved. Some haven't. Ashley completed an inpatient treatment program. It was a 30-day program at a facility about 2 hours from here. Carl told us about it because Danny mentioned it during one of his conversations with James. The facility specialized in treating personality disorders and delusional thinking. According to Carl, Ashley was resistant at first but eventually started participating in the therapy sessions. After she was released from the program, Ashley moved into a supervised living facility. It's not a hospital, but it's not independent living either. There are counselors on staff and residents have to follow certain rules. She has a case manager who checks in with her twice a week. She's on medication now. Carl said the medication has made a difference, but she still doesn't think she did anything wrong. The custody hearing happened about 6 weeks ago. Walter and I were not required to attend, but Carl asked if we would be willing to provide a statement. We submitted a written statement describing Ashley's behavior over the past 6 months. We included copies of all the police reports and the restraining order documentation. The judge awarded Carl full legal and physical custody of Danny. Ashley was granted supervised visitation every other Saturday for 2 hours. The visits happen at a family services center with a social worker present. After 6 months of consistent visits and continued treatment, the arrangement will be reviewed. Danny came to our house 2 weeks ago. It was the first time we had seen him since all of this started. Carl brought him over. Danny apologized for his part in what happened. He said his mother had convinced him that he was seriously hurt and that we didn't care. He said he realized later that she had been asking him leading questions and he just answered the way she wanted him to. James told him it was okay and asked if he wanted to play basketball. They went outside and played for about an hour. It was almost normal. Qley got a new job at a different bookstore across town. She said she needed a fresh start somewhere her mother didn't know about. She's been seeing a counselor to work through everything from her childhood. She said the counselor told her that what her mother did was a form of emotional abuse. Qley said it helped to have a name for it. Walter's relationship with his mother has not recovered. She still believes we handled everything wrong. She thinks we should have been more understanding of Ashley's situation. She thinks family should handle things privately instead of involving courts and police. Walter tried to explain to her that we did try to handle it privately, but Ashley escalated things at every turn. His mother doesn't want to hear it. They talk maybe once a month now and the conversations are brief. Most of Walter's extended family has stopped taking sides. The ones who were vocal about supporting Ashley have gone quiet. A few of them reached out to Walter and said they didn't realize how serious things had gotten. Walter accepted their apologies, but he's not close with them anymore. The trust is gone. The restraining order is still in place. It has about 4 more months before it expires. We can request an extension if we feel it's necessary. Our lawyer said we should probably request an extension given everything that happened. We haven't decided yet. Ashley has not tried to contact us since her arrest. According to Carl, she still talks about us in her therapy sessions. She still thinks we overreacted. She still thinks the security footage was edited somehow. Her therapist is working with her on accepting reality, but it's a slow process. James is doing better. He's back to his normal routine. He and Danny text sometimes. They're rebuilding their friendship carefully. Nina is also doing better, but she's more cautious now. She doesn't like being home alone. She checks the locks on the doors more than she used to. I don't push her to get over it. She'll process this in her own time. Walter and I are okay. We don't talk about Ashley much anymore. There's nothing left to say about it. We did what we had to do to protect our kids. We used the evidence we had. We followed the legal process. Some people think we went too far. Some people think we didn't go far enough. We stopped worrying about what other people think. The house feels different now. We added the extra security cameras. We have a new alarm system. These things make us feel safer, but they're also a constant reminder of what happened. We talked about moving but decided against it. This is our home. We're not going to let Ashley take that from us too. I still check the Ring camera before I open the door. I still look at the rearview mirror more than I used to. I still have moments where I hear a noise outside and think it might be her. But those moments are getting less frequent. People have asked me if I regret how I handled things. They ask if I wish I had just paid Ashley the money she wanted to make the problem go away. The answer is no. Paying her would have taught her that lying works. It would have taught my kids that you should give in to bullies to keep the peace. It would have taught her that she could make up any story and people would believe her as long as she cried hard enough. The security footage didn't lie. The timestamps didn't lie. Danny was fine when he left our house. Everything that happened after that was a choice Ashley made. She chose to make up a story. She chose to sue us. She chose to violate the restraining order. She chose to live in her car instead of asking for help from people who would have actually helped her. I feel bad that Ashley lost her job and her apartment. I feel bad that she's in a supervised living facility now. I feel bad that she sees her son for 2 hours every other week. But those consequences came from her own actions, not from ours. Some people will always think I'm the villain in this story. Walter's mother will probably always think I destroyed the family. The relatives who never watched the security footage will probably always think we were too harsh. I can live with that. What I couldn't live with was letting someone lie about my son and demand money for an injury that never happened. I couldn't live with someone harassing my daughter and stalking my family. I couldn't live with teaching my kids that keeping peace is more important than telling the truth. So here we are. The case is closed. The restraining order is in place. Ashley is getting treatment. Danny is safe with his father. Qley is building a life separate from her mother. Our family is smaller now in terms of who we spend time with. But the people who are still around are people who believed us when we told the truth. That matters more than having a big family that requires you to accept lies to keep everyone comfortable. This is where things stand. I don't expect a happy ending where Ashley recovers and we all reconcile. I don't expect Walter's mother to suddenly see our side of things. I don't expect the extended family to apologize for doubting us. People believe what they want to believe. We're moving forward. That's all we can do. Now let's move to the next story. Story 2. My mother-in-law ruined my daughter's second birthday by constantly using the wrong name. When I told her she couldn't stay with us, she lied to the entire family and said we banned her from seeing her grandchildren forever. I am Maria, 26F, and my husband is Carlos, 29M. We both moved to Canada from Mexico 3 years ago when our oldest son Diego was 2 years old. We now have 2 kids, Diego who is 5 and our daughter Isabella who just turned 2 last month. My mother-in-law Rosa, 58F, has always been very vocal about everything. When I was pregnant with Diego, she spent months telling us the name we picked was too common and that every other boy in his class would have the same name. She would call Carlos every week with new suggestions and even sent us a list of 50 alternative names through WhatsApp. The complaints only stopped when Diego was born and we had already filled out all the paperwork. When I got pregnant with Isabella, we decided to keep the name secret until after she was born. We thought this would prevent any drama since the name would already be official by the time Rosa found out. We were completely wrong. The day Isabella was born, Carlos called his family to share the news. Rosa's first response was not congratulations or asking how the baby was doing. Instead, she immediately started complaining about the name Isabella, saying it was too fancy for a regular family like ours and that people would think we were putting on airs. She said the name sounded like we were trying to be better than everyone else. That phone call happened 2 years ago, and Rosa has not stopped complaining since then. Every single time we talk to her, she brings up Isabella's name. She tells us it's pretentious and that Isabella will get made fun of at school. She says kids will think she's stuck up because of her name. Rosa has also started referring to Isabella as Bella in every conversation, even though we've told her multiple times that we call our daughter Isabella, not Bella. The situation got worse 6 months ago when Rosa started posting comments on our Facebook photos. Whenever we shared pictures of Isabella, Rosa would write things like how cute Bella looked or how much Bella had grown. She would completely ignore that we always wrote Isabella in our captions. Other family members started using Bella too because they saw Rosa doing it. Carlos tried talking to his mom several times. He explained that we chose Isabella for specific reasons and that we wanted people to use her full name. Rosa would agree during the phone call but then go right back to using Bella the next day. She told Carlos that Bella was easier to say and that Isabella was too long for everyday use. The breaking point came 2 months ago when Rosa was video calling with the kids. Diego was showing her his new toy truck and Isabella was playing with her blocks nearby. Rosa kept calling Isabella over by saying, "Come here Bella, look at this Bella, show me what you're doing Bella." Isabella looked confused because she's not used to being called Bella at home. She kept looking at Diego instead of responding to Rosa. After the call ended, Diego asked me why Grandma kept calling his sister the wrong name. He wanted to know if Isabella had 2 names or if Grandma was talking to someone else. I had to explain that some people use shorter versions of names but that his sister's name was Isabella. Diego then asked if he should start calling her Bella too since that's what Grandma does. That conversation made me realize how much Rosa's behavior was affecting our family. Our 5-year-old was getting confused about his own sister's name because his grandmother refused to use it correctly. I talked to Carlos about it that night and we both agreed something had to change. Carlos called Rosa the next day and had a serious conversation with her. He told her that she needed to stop using Bella and start using Isabella's proper name. He explained that she was confusing the kids and disrespecting our choice as parents. Rosa got defensive and said she had the right to call her granddaughter whatever she wanted. She claimed that family members should be allowed to have special nicknames for the grandchildren. Carlos pointed out that we never agreed to any nickname and that we had specifically asked her to use Isabella multiple times. Rosa then started crying and said we were being mean to an old woman who just wanted to feel close to her granddaughter. She hung up on Carlos before he could respond. Rosa didn't call us for 2 weeks after that conversation. When she finally did call back, she apologized and promised to use Isabella's name correctly. We thought the problem was solved, but it only lasted about a month. Rosa gradually went back to using Bella in conversations and posts. The final straw happened 3 weeks ago. Rosa was planning to visit us here in Canada for Isabella's second birthday party. She was going to stay with us for a week since she doesn't speak any English and wouldn't be comfortable in a hotel by herself. Carlos's brother Miguel, 34M, was also coming but he was planning to get his own hotel room so he could explore the city. Rosa called us to discuss the visit details and she kept referring to the party as Bella's birthday party. She asked what kind of cake Bella liked and what presents Bella might want. She talked about how excited she was to finally meet Bella in person since she hadn't visited since Isabella was 6 months old. Carlos corrected her several times during the call, but Rosa just ignored him and kept using Bella. After that phone call, Carlos and I had a long discussion. We realized that having Rosa stay in our house for a week would mean constant exposure to her calling Isabella the wrong name. We were worried about how it would affect both of our children, especially since Isabella is now old enough to notice when people use different names for her. We also didn't want Rosa's behavior to ruin Isabella's birthday party. This was going to be Isabella's first real birthday party with friends from daycare and decorations and everything. The thought of Rosa spending the whole day calling her Bella in front of all the other kids and parents made us both stressed. Carlos and I decided that we couldn't let Rosa stay with us during the visit. 2 weeks ago, Carlos called his mom and told her that she would need to find other accommodations. He explained that her continued refusal to use Isabella's correct name was the reason for this decision. He told her she could ask Miguel to help her get a room at his hotel or find somewhere else to stay. Rosa started crying immediately and accused us of being cruel. She said we were punishing an old woman for something small and meaningless. Carlos explained that it wasn't small or meaningless to us and that she had been given many chances to correct her behavior. Rosa then got angry and said we were being dramatic and trying to keep her away from her grandchildren. Since that call, Rosa has been contacting us almost daily. Sometimes she apologizes and promises to use Isabella's name correctly. Other times she gets angry and accuses us of alienating her from the family. She keeps switching between these two approaches, but she has never actually acknowledged why her behavior is problematic. Miguel called us last week to discuss the situation. He agrees that Rosa is being stubborn about the name issue, but he thinks we're being too harsh by not letting her stay with us. He pointed out that Rosa is getting older and doesn't speak the language here, so staying alone would be difficult for her. Miguel said we had promised months ago that Rosa could stay with us, and now we were backing out at the last minute. Miguel offered to help Rosa get a hotel room, but he thinks we should reconsider our decision. He understands our frustration but believes we could just ignore Rosa's comments about the name during her visit. Miguel suggested that we focus on having a good time together instead of getting upset about what he calls a minor issue. The birthday party is this weekend and Rosa still hasn't booked anywhere to stay. She keeps calling and asking if we've changed our minds about letting her stay with us. Yesterday she told Carlos that if we don't let her stay with us, she might not come to the party at all. She said it would be too complicated for her to manage being in a hotel by herself. Carlos and I are both exhausted from dealing with this situation. We want Isabella to have a good birthday party, but we also don't want to give in to Rosa's manipulation. At the same time, we're starting to wonder if we're making too big a deal out of the name issue. Some of our friends think we should just let Rosa stay with us and ignore her comments. I keep going back and forth about whether we're doing the right thing. Part of me thinks we need to stand firm and protect our children from Rosa's disrespectful behavior. But another part of me wonders if we're being too strict and causing unnecessary family drama. Rosa has always been a difficult person who complains about everything, but we generally get along with her okay. The distance between Mexico and Canada helps because we only have to deal with her behavior during phone calls and visits. But this name issue has become such a constant source of stress that it's affecting our whole relationship with her. Am I being unreasonable for not wanting Rosa to stay with us during Isabella's birthday week? Should we just accept that she's going to call Isabella whatever she wants and try to work around it? Update 1. I wanted to update everyone on what happened with Rosa's visit and Isabella's birthday party. Thank you to everyone who commented on my original post. Reading your responses helped me realize that we were making the right decision by setting boundaries. Rosa did end up coming for the birthday party, but the whole situation got much more complicated than I expected. 3 days before she was supposed to arrive, she still hadn't booked a hotel room. She kept calling Carlos and asking if we had changed our minds about letting her stay with us. When Carlos said no, she would hang up or start crying. Miguel called us 2 days before the party and said he was frustrated with Rosa's behavior. He had offered to help her book a room at his hotel multiple times, but she kept refusing. Rosa told Miguel that she shouldn't have to stay in a hotel because family should take care of each other. Miguel said Rosa was being manipulative and trying to force us to give in. The day before Rosa was supposed to fly to Canada, she called Carlos and said she had decided not to come at all. She claimed that since we didn't want her in our house, we obviously didn't want her at the party either. Carlos tried to explain that those were two different things, but Rosa said it was too late and too complicated for her to find accommodation. Carlos was really upset after that phone call. He felt guilty that his mom was going to miss Isabella's birthday because of our decision. I could see him starting to doubt whether we had done the right thing. Carlos called Miguel to see if there was any way to fix the situation. Miguel told Carlos that Rosa had never actually bought her plane ticket. She had been planning all along to use the accommodation issue as an excuse not to come. Miguel said Rosa had been complaining to other family members that we were being mean to her, and she wanted them to pressure us into apologizing. This information changed everything for Carlos. He realized that Rosa had been manipulating the whole situation from the beginning. She never intended to find alternative accommodation because she wanted to create drama and make us look like the bad guys to the rest of the family. Carlos called Rosa back and told her that Miguel had revealed she never bought a plane ticket. Rosa got defensive and claimed she was going to buy it once the accommodation was settled. Carlos pointed out that she had weeks to book a hotel room and chose not to. He told her that her decision not to come was her own choice and not our fault. The birthday party went ahead as planned without Rosa. Isabella had a wonderful day with her friends from daycare and some neighbors we had invited. Diego helped his sister open presents and they both enjoyed the princess-themed decorations we had put up. The party was exactly what we wanted it to be, focused on Isabella and celebrating her. However, the drama didn't end there. 2 days after the party, Carlos started getting phone calls from relatives in Mexico. Rosa had been telling everyone that we banned her from Isabella's birthday party and refused to let her see her granddaughter. She told them we were keeping the children away from their grandmother over something petty. Carlos had to spend hours on the phone explaining the real situation to various aunts, uncles, and cousins. Most of them understood once they heard our side of the story, but a few believed Rosa's version and thought we were being unreasonable. Carlos's Aunt Carmen even suggested that we should apologize to Rosa to keep peace in the family. Miguel was furious when he found out Rosa was spreading lies about what happened. He called several family members himself to set the record straight. Miguel told them that Rosa had refused multiple offers of help with accommodation and never bought her plane ticket. He explained that we had every right to set boundaries about how our children's names are used. The situation created a split in Carlos's extended family. Some relatives supported our decision and agreed that Rosa's behavior was disrespectful. Others thought we should have been more understanding of an older woman's preferences. A few family members stopped talking to us altogether because they believed Rosa's version of events. 3 weeks after the party, Rosa called Carlos and apologized. She said she had been wrong to lie to the family about what happened. Rosa admitted that she never bought her plane ticket and that she had been hoping we would change our minds about the accommodation. She asked if we could start over and plan another visit. Carlos told Rosa that he appreciated her apology, but he needed time to think about future visits. He said he was hurt that she had lied to the family and tried to turn them against us. Carlos explained that trust had been broken and it would take time to rebuild. Rosa then asked if she could at least video call with the children regularly like before. Carlos said yes, but only if she agreed to use Isabella's correct name during the calls. Rosa hesitated and said she would try her best. Carlos told her that trying wasn't good enough and that she needed to commit to using Isabella's name consistently. During their first video call after the apology, Rosa did use Isabella's name correctly. She asked how Isabella was doing and commented on how much Isabella had grown. But halfway through the call, she slipped back into using Bella. When Carlos corrected her, Rosa said it was just a habit and that changing would take time. Carlos ended the video call early and told Rosa that she could call back when she was ready to respect our family's boundaries. Rosa got upset and said we were being too strict, but Carlos stood firm. He told her that we had given her countless chances already and that this was her last opportunity. Since then, Rosa has called twice more. The first call went well and she used Isabella's name throughout the conversation. The second call started okay, but Rosa began using Bella again after a few minutes. Carlos warned her once, and when she continued, he ended the call. Miguel has been very supportive throughout this whole process. He told us that Rosa has always been stubborn and that she needs to face real consequences for her behavior. Miguel said he's proud of us for standing up for our children and not giving in to family pressure. The extended family drama has mostly died down now. Most relatives have moved on to other topics, though a few are still upset with us. Carlos and I have decided that we're okay with some family members being angry if it means protecting our children's well-being. Isabella's birthday party ended up being perfect despite all the drama surrounding it. She had no idea about any of the family conflict and just enjoyed celebrating with the people who were there. Diego keeps asking when Grandma Rosa is going to visit again, but we've explained that it might be a while. We're still not sure what will happen with Rosa long term. She clearly struggles to respect our boundaries consistently, but she has shown some improvement. We're taking it one phone call at a time and seeing if she can maintain better behavior over a longer period. Update 2: I have another update about the situation with Rosa and wanted to share some unexpected developments that happened recently. Things took a turn that I wasn't prepared for and I'm still processing everything. After my last update, Rosa had been doing better with using Isabella's name during video calls. She would slip up occasionally, but when Carlos corrected her, she would apologize and use the right name for the rest of the conversation. We thought maybe she was finally learning to respect our boundaries. About 6 weeks ago, Rosa asked if she could plan another visit to Canada. She said she wanted to make up for missing Isabella's birthday party and prove that she could behave appropriately. Rosa suggested coming for a long weekend and staying in a hotel from the beginning. She even offered to book the hotel herself to show she was serious. Carlos and I discussed it and decided to give her another chance. We figured that a short visit with clear boundaries might work better than the longer stay she had originally planned. Carlos told Rosa she could visit but emphasized that she needed to use Isabella's correct name throughout the entire trip. Rosa agreed to all our conditions and booked her flight and hotel room. She seemed genuinely excited about the visit and kept talking about activities she wanted to do with both children. For the first time in months, our phone conversations with her were pleasant and focused on positive things. 2 weeks before Rosa's planned visit, something unexpected happened. Carlos's cousin Patricia called us from Mexico with some disturbing information. Patricia had been talking to Rosa about the upcoming trip, and Rosa had said something that worried her. According to Patricia, Rosa had mentioned that she was planning to convince Isabella to like being called Bella during the visit. Rosa told Patricia that once Isabella got used to the nickname, we wouldn't be able to object to other people using it. Rosa said that children prefer shorter names anyway and that Isabella would probably ask us to call her Bella after spending time with Grandma. Patricia was uncomfortable with Rosa's plan and decided to warn us. She said Rosa seemed to think she could win Isabella over and create a situation where we would have to accept the nickname. Patricia apologized for getting involved but felt we should know what Rosa was really thinking. Carlos was furious when he heard this. He realized that Rosa's improved behavior on phone calls was just an act to get another chance to visit. She hadn't actually changed her attitude about the name issue and was planning to manipulate our 2-year-old daughter during her visit. Carlos called Rosa immediately and confronted her about what Patricia had told us. At first Rosa denied saying anything like that, but when Carlos pressed her, she admitted that she might have mentioned hoping Isabella would warm up to a family nickname. Rosa claimed there was nothing wrong with grandparents having special names for their grandchildren. Carlos explained once again that we had specifically told her not to use any nickname for Isabella. He pointed out that she had agreed to use Isabella's correct name during the visit. Rosa then got defensive and said she hadn't technically agreed not to help Isabella discover that she might prefer a shorter version of her name. The conversation escalated quickly from there. Rosa accused Carlos of being controlling and trying to dictate how she could interact with her own granddaughter. Carlos told Rosa that her plan to manipulate a toddler was inappropriate and showed she couldn't be trusted. Rosa started crying and said we were treating her like a criminal over something harmless. Carlos ended up canceling Rosa's visit. He told her that she had violated our trust by planning to go behind our backs with Isabella. Rosa begged him to reconsider and promised she wouldn't use any nicknames, but Carlos said it was too late. He explained that knowing about her secret plan made it impossible for us to feel comfortable having her around our children. Rosa was devastated by this decision. She called back several times that day, alternating between apologizing and getting angry. She accused us of looking for excuses to keep her away from the grandchildren. Rosa said that Patricia had misunderstood her comments and that she would never try to manipulate Isabella. Miguel called us the next day after Rosa had contacted him in tears. He was disappointed to hear about Rosa's plan but not entirely surprised. Miguel said Rosa has always believed she knows what's best for everyone and has trouble accepting when people disagree with her. He supported our decision to cancel the visit. The aftermath of this incident has been worse than anything that happened before. Rosa has been telling family members that we canceled her visit at the last minute for no good reason. She claims we're using the name issue as an excuse to cut her off from the grandchildren completely. Some relatives have been calling Carlos to ask what really happened. Unlike last time, more family members seem to be taking Rosa's side. They think we're being too harsh and that grandparents should have some flexibility in how they interact with grandchildren. Carlos's uncle Roberto even suggested that we're damaging the children by keeping them away from their grandmother. The family pressure has been intense this time. Carlos has been getting phone calls almost daily from different relatives trying to convince him to give Rosa another chance. Some of them have offered to supervise Rosa's interactions with the children or promised to make sure she behaves appropriately. Carlos has been struggling with all the family criticism. I can see that he's starting to doubt our decisions again, especially when his own siblings are telling him he's being unreasonable. Carlos loves his family and doesn't want to be the cause of all this conflict, but he also wants to protect our children. 2 weeks ago, things got even more complicated. Rosa called and told Carlos that she had been feeling chest pains and shortness of breath since we canceled her visit. She said the stress of being separated from her grandchildren was affecting her health. Rosa's doctor had told her that emotional stress could be contributing to her symptoms. Rosa didn't directly say that we were responsible for her health problems, but the implication was clear. She told Carlos that she just wanted to see her grandchildren and couldn't understand why we were making everything so difficult. Rosa said she was getting older and didn't know how much time she had left with the family. This health scare really affected Carlos. He started wondering if we were taking the name issue too seriously and causing unnecessary stress for his aging mother. Carlos asked me if we should just ignore Rosa's comments about Isabella's name and focus on maintaining family relationships. I reminded Carlos about Rosa's plan to manipulate Isabella during her visit. That wasn't just about using a nickname, it was about deliberately trying to undermine our parenting decisions and confuse our daughter. I pointed out that Rosa had lied to us about her intentions and couldn't be trusted. Carlos agreed with my points logically, but I could tell he was torn emotionally. The combination of family pressure and Rosa's health issues was making him question everything. We had several difficult conversations about what we should do going forward. Last week, Miguel called with an update on Rosa's health situation. He had talked to her doctor directly and learned that Rosa's symptoms were mild and likely related to her general anxiety, not any serious heart condition. The doctor had recommended stress management techniques and regular exercise, not family reconciliation. Miguel was annoyed that Rosa had exaggerated her health issues to manipulate Carlos. He told us that Rosa has a pattern of using emotional manipulation when she doesn't get her way. Miguel said we shouldn't feel guilty about setting appropriate boundaries with her. Armed with this information, Carlos felt more confident about our decisions. He called Rosa and told her that he was glad her health issues weren't serious, but that her attempt to use them as leverage was inappropriate. Carlos said we were still not comfortable with visits until she could demonstrate consistent respect for our family rules. Rosa was shocked that Miguel had talked to her doctor and accused us of invading her privacy. She denied trying to manipulate anyone and said she was just expressing how the family conflict was affecting her. Rosa said we were being paranoid and looking for reasons to justify our cruel treatment of her. Since that conversation, Rosa has not called us at all. We're not sure if she's giving us space or planning her next approach. The extended family drama has calmed down somewhat, but some relatives are still upset with us. Carlos and I have decided to focus on our immediate family and not worry about managing everyone else's opinions. Isabella and Diego are both doing well and haven't been affected by any of this adult drama. They occasionally ask about Grandma Rosa, but they're satisfied with simple explanations about her being busy in Mexico. We're committed to protecting them from the family conflict while they're still so young. Update 3. This will be my final update on the Rosa situation. A lot has happened in the past month and a half, and I think we've reached a resolution of sorts, though not the one I was expecting. After Rosa stopped calling us following the health manipulation incident, we had about 3 weeks of peace. No phone calls, no family pressure, and no drama about Isabella's name. Carlos and I were able to focus on our daily lives without constantly worrying about the next conflict with his mother. During this quiet period, something interesting happened. Diego started asking more questions about why Grandma Rosa didn't call anymore. He remembered that she used to video chat with them regularly, and he was confused about why that had stopped. Diego also asked why Grandma Rosa called Isabella a different name than everyone else. Carlos and I realized that our 5-year-old had been paying more attention to the name issue than we thought. Diego told us that it bothered him when Rosa called his sister Bella because that wasn't her real name. He said it seemed like Grandma Rosa didn't know his sister very well if she couldn't remember her correct name. This conversation with Diego confirmed that we had been right to protect our children from Rosa's behavior. Even a young child could see that using the wrong name repeatedly was disrespectful and confusing. We felt more confident about the boundaries we had set. 4 weeks ago, Miguel called us with unexpected news. He said Rosa had been talking to other family members about planning a surprise visit to Canada. Rosa apparently believed that if she just showed up at our door, we wouldn't turn her away in person. She had been asking relatives for money to help pay for the trip. Miguel was concerned about Rosa's plan because he knew it would create a terrible situation for everyone involved. He had tried to talk Rosa out of the surprise visit idea, but she wasn't listening to his advice. Miguel warned us so we could prepare for the possibility of Rosa showing up unannounced. Carlos and I were shocked that Rosa would consider such an extreme action. The idea of her appearing at our door without permission felt like a violation of the boundaries we had worked so hard to establish. Carlos called Rosa immediately to address this plan before she could act on it. When Carlos confronted Rosa about the surprise visit idea, she didn't deny it. Instead, she said that desperate times called for desperate measures. Rosa claimed that we had left her no choice but to take drastic action to see her grandchildren. She said that showing up in person would force us to have a real conversation about the situation. Carlos told Rosa that a surprise visit would result in her being asked to leave immediately. He explained that showing up unannounced would be a violation of our privacy and would not lead to the reconciliation she was hoping for. Carlos warned Rosa that if she came to Canada without our permission, we would not let her into our house. Rosa got very upset during this conversation and accused Carlos of threatening his own mother. She said she couldn't believe he would refuse to see her even if she traveled all the way to Canada. Rosa claimed that any normal son would be happy to have his mother visit, regardless of the circumstances. Carlos stood firm and told Rosa that her behavior over the past months had damaged our trust in her. He explained that surprise visits and manipulation tactics were only making the situation worse. Carlos said that if Rosa wanted to rebuild their relationship, she needed to start by respecting the boundaries we had established. After that phone call, Rosa went silent again for about a week. Then Miguel called to tell us that Rosa had abandoned her surprise visit plan. She had realized that she couldn't afford the trip without financial help from family members, and most relatives had refused to give her money once they understood what she was planning. Miguel said Rosa was now claiming that she was done trying to maintain a relationship with us. She told family members that she had tried everything possible to connect with her grandchildren, but we were determined to keep them away from her. Rosa said she was giving up on ever seeing Diego and Isabella again. This dramatic declaration was clearly another manipulation attempt, but Carlos surprised me by not reacting emotionally to it. Instead of feeling guilty or trying to fix things, he seemed relieved. Carlos said that if Rosa wanted to cut off contact, that was her choice, but we weren't going to chase after her anymore. 2 weeks ago, we got confirmation that Rosa's latest dramatic gesture was just another act. Carlos's Aunt Carmen called to tell us that Rosa had been asking her to convince us to reach out. Rosa apparently expected that threatening to cut off contact would make us panic and apologize. Carmen told us that Rosa has been complaining to anyone who will listen about how unfairly we've treated her. She's been portraying herself as a victim who just wanted to love her grandchildren but was rejected for no good reason. Carmen said most family members are getting tired of Rosa's constant complaints and drama. Miguel confirmed this when he called us last week. He said Rosa has been calling different relatives every day to rehash the same grievances about the name issue and our treatment of her. Miguel told us that people are starting to avoid Rosa's calls because they're tired of hearing about the family conflict. According to Miguel, Rosa's behavior has actually hurt her reputation within the extended family. People who initially sympathized with her are now seeing a pattern of manipulation and drama seeking. Miguel said some relatives have told him privately that they understand why we set boundaries with Rosa. This information helped Carlos see the situation more clearly. He realized that Rosa's behavior wasn't just affecting our immediate family, it was damaging her relationships with other relatives too. Carlos said he felt sad for his mother but also relieved that we weren't the only ones who had noticed her problematic patterns. Yesterday, Rosa called us for the first time in 3 weeks. She didn't apologize or acknowledge any of her previous behavior. Instead, she acted like nothing had happened and asked to video chat with the children. Rosa said she missed her grandchildren and wanted to see how much they had grown. Carlos told Rosa that nothing had changed since their last conversation. He said she was welcome to have a relationship with the children, but only if she could consistently respect our family rules. Carlos reminded Rosa that this meant using Isabella's correct name and not trying to manipulate or confuse the children. Rosa sighed and said she would try to remember to use Isabella's name, but she couldn't promise to be perfect. She said that changing habits was difficult for older people and that we should be more understanding. Rosa asked if we could just focus on the children instead of getting upset about small mistakes. Carlos told Rosa that this wasn't about small mistakes anymore. He explained that her deliberate attempts to manipulate Isabella and her various schemes to get around our boundaries had shown that she wasn't acting in good faith. Carlos said trust had to be rebuilt slowly through consistent respectful behavior. Rosa got frustrated and said she didn't understand why everything had to be so complicated. She claimed that other grandparents didn't have to follow so many rules to see their grandchildren. Rosa said we were being unreasonable and making normal family relationships impossible. Carlos ended the call by telling Rosa that she could contact us again when she was ready to accept our boundaries without arguing about them. He said we wanted the children to have a relationship with their grandmother, but not at the expense of our family's peace and stability. Since that conversation, Rosa hasn't called back. Miguel thinks she's probably trying to figure out her next approach or waiting for us to change our minds. Carlos and I have decided that we're done trying to manage Rosa's behavior and will simply respond to whatever she does next. Our children are thriving without the constant drama surrounding Rosa's visits and calls. Diego has stopped asking about Grandma Rosa regularly, and Isabella is developing her language skills without confusion about her name. We feel like we've protected them from unnecessary stress while they're still so young. Carlos and I have learned a lot about setting boundaries with difficult family members. We've realized that some people will never respect limits no matter how clearly you communicate them. We're at peace with the possibility that Rosa may choose to maintain minimal contact rather than change her behavior. If Rosa decides to work on rebuilding trust by consistently respecting our boundaries, we'll be open to that. But we're no longer willing to compromise our children's well-being or our family's peace to accommodate her manipulation and drama. Sometimes protecting your immediate family means accepting that relationships with extended family may suffer.